I reassured myself that it was simply a matter of courtesy, remaining for those additional moments as my son gathered his books, while Luca meticulously cleaned the piano keys, was merely an act of courtesy. Yet I lingered far beyond the intended moment, and far too frequently. Yet I invariably departed at a languid pace. Luca has reached the age of 26. Noah, my son, is now 12 years old. That calculation should have served as a clear warning to me. Yet it did not. The warning signs were not quantified in numerical form. They lingered in moments of stillness, in silences that lingered far too long. Luca had a remarkable way of lingering in our conversations, never hurrying to bring them to a close, even as the next student awaited just outside in the hallway. The piano studio occupied a modest space on the second floor of a building, its air thick with the scent of aged books and linseed oil. One window remained perpetually half open, allowing dust to drift through the air as if it were something divine. As Noah engaged in his play, I would settle into the corner chair, feigning interest in the pages of a book. Yet I was attuned to the sounds around me, not solely to the melodies, to the sound of his voice. Luca's voice flowed softly, imbued with a patience that wrapped around each word, its melody transforming even the act of correction into a gentle invitation. He never lifted it. Never. Even as Noah faltered on the same note thrice in succession, he would lean in with a subtle grace, press the key softly and utter, "Try again." After the lesson concluded for the first time, I inquired about which piece Noah ought to focus on practicing. A seemingly innocuous inquiry. He perched on the bench, casting his gaze upward toward me, a smile gracing his lips. "Anything that stirs his soul," he remarked. "The method is essential. Yet it is the essence of feeling that endures." I nodded yet remained still, my feet anchored to the ground, hesitating to approach the door. He did not either. That was everything. "Please hold on for a moment." Yet it echoed in my mind for hours on end. The second occasion I lingered, the rain fell steadily. An umbrella had slipped my mind. We lingered by the door, united in our anticipation for the rain to relent. He graciously extended his coat over our heads as he escorted us to the car. I replied, "No, we shall wait." And so we did. Yet I found myself not truly pausing for the rain to cease. I lingered in anticipation, hoping to sense a spark within me. Indeed I did. He began to extend an invitation for tea, perpetually following the lesson, not a single time prior, forever rooted in nature, always served in a glass cup devoid of a handle, as if we were seated in a quaint European cafe rather than a cramped studio along Lincoln Street. He would pass it to me as if it were the most ordinary thing in the world, as if it were merely a trivial matter. Yet, his fingers would lightly graze against mine, and it seemed to encompass all that was. I kept it to myself. It's not about the tea. It's not about how I began to favor skirts over jeans on Wednesdays. It's not about the added shine on my lips, or the manner in which I would adjust my posture in the chair, anticipating a glance over his shoulder as Noah engaged in play. I reassured myself that my intentions were merely those of friendliness, a nurturing figure, a woman who has lost her spouse, filled with gratitude. Yet, a stirring within me began to awaken. It lacked any trace of maternal instinct. On a Wednesday, he remarked, "Noah's making rapid progress." A smile graced my lips. "You possess a remarkable talent for teaching," I remarked. He gazed at me lingeringly and gently. "At times," he spoke with a measured cadence, "you can simply sense when someone is truly engaged." I swallowed. For the first time a thought crossed my mind. Was he referring to Noah? Or perhaps a reflection on my own journey? It began with the delicate notes of sheet music, a modest, unassuming page. Noah had abandoned it on the stand, and just as I was about to seize it, Luca's hand shot out to claim it simultaneously. Our fingers brushed against one another, only for a fleeting moment. Yet in that fleeting moment, I lost sight of the fact that I was meant to be in my 40s and unseen. I lost sight of the fact that I was Noah's mother. He was at the age of 26. I was not. He remained unyielding. He kept his hand there as if no error had transpired. He lingered with the page between us, extending the moment just a fraction too long, and smiled. A genuine smile. Impolite. Unprofessional. Cozy. Intimate. I believe he's prepared for Chopin, he remarked. I nodded, though the memory of my response eludes me. All that occupied my mind was the delicate warmth lingering where our hands had touched. Oh, how I longed to experience it once more. That evening, I returned home and sat down at my old upright piano, letting my fingers dance over the keys as I played the same Chopin piece Luca had spoken of. It had been years since I last played. Not since prior to my husband's passing. The keys seemed unfamiliar as they rested under my fingertips. Yet I continued to play regardless. This is not intended for practice. In remembrance. For yearning. For him. In the following week, I donned the blue blouse I had never imagined I would wear once more. It embraced me in every corner I believed I had abandoned. He observed. His gaze lingered on mine for a moment that felt just a heartbeat too extended. As Noah stumbled through the initial notes of his new composition, Luca softly placed his hand over my son's to soothe him. The same soothing caress. The same voice echoed. Try again. Yet it was I who found myself holding my breath. Following the lesson, Luca hesitated, reluctant to leave. He failed to inquire whether we had any questions. He inquired whether I had an affinity for Chopin. I agreed. He inquired whether I engaged in playing. I mentioned that I once did. He regarded me then, not merely as a mother nor as a widow, but as a person who might still possess a melody within her. Would you care to join me for a game sometime? He inquired. A constriction gripped my throat. I would appreciate that. He offered a smile. Then remain here next week. Just for 10 minutes. After Noah has finished. On that night I found myself pouring my thoughts into a journal that had remained untouched for 5 long years. I captured the instant our hands met. The instant I perceived music anew. Not from the piano, but through the gaze of another directed towards me. I left his name unwritten. Yet I found it unnecessary. I was acutely aware of the subject of my writing. The studio held an unusual stillness, a silence that enveloped the space like a soft blanket. Noah completed his lesson and made his way to the car, earbuds already in place, lost in his own world. Luca shut the door softly, and for an instant, the room seemed to shrink around him. More personal. He settled onto the piano bench, gently patting the space beside him. Please take a seat. You mentioned that you used to play. I paused for a moment, then moved across the room as if approaching a hidden truth I was uncertain I was meant to uncover. The bench was slender. Our thighs grazed against each other. It was no mere coincidence. He positioned the sheet music between us and remarked, Only the right hand for you. I'll handle the left. Our fingers lingered just above the keys. Are you prepared? He inquired. I nodded, despite the tremor in my hands. Our journey commenced. The initial notes stumbled awkwardly. My muscles recalled their strength gradually. Yet, the manner in which he accompanied my melody, steady, warm, and supportive, brought me a sense of calm. Embraced me. We found our cadence in unison. 2 individuals. A singular instrument. At the midpoint of the composition, I took a moment to reflect. He did not. His role continued. Gentle, unhurried, comforting. He came to a halt as well. My gaze fell upon him. Near. Nearer than I had ever allowed myself to approach. He murmured. Your hands are exquisite. His words were not intended as praise. He conveyed it as though it were a revelation. I was a chord he hadn't realized he required. I chuckled uneasily. They are aged. He gazed down at them, poised delicately on the keys. No. They have experienced life. That's a distinction. Tears threatened to spill over. Not due to his words. Yet it was because he truly intended it. For an eternity it seemed no one had truly mattered. The piece remains unfinished. Instead, he gently glided his hand over mine. Not possessive, not forceful. Simply present. Reclining in tranquility. Seizing territory he had yet to explore. My gaze fell upon our intertwined hands. The disparity in age was unmistakable. Yet, in that instant the bond was equally present. I remained steadfast, refusing to retreat. He did not either. Outside, the rain began to fall. He extended his hand, flipping the page of the music with a deliberate motion. Yet we did not engage in play. He inclined his body toward me with deliberate slowness, his gaze fixed intently on my expression. With my eyes shut tight, I surrendered to the darkness. And even though he refrained from kissing me, not just yet, every sentiment a kiss might convey washed over me. It hung in the air, suspended in the quiet, the unfinished melody, the echo of our intertwined fingers. As I stepped out of the studio, a profound sense of femininity enveloped me, one I hadn't experienced in years. It began with an absence of sound, not uncomfortable, relaxed, yet filled with anticipation. Luca lingered by the door, the silence settling in after Noah's departure. As I draped my coat over my shoulders, a sense of anticipation filled the air. I found no urgency in my pace. I was never that. He gazed at me for an extended moment, then reached behind him and turned the key. A gentle click, a sound that ought to be subtle, yet resonated with unexpected intensity. My breath caught in my throat. He remained still, not advancing in my direction. Not at this moment. Today there's no one waiting for you, he murmured gently. There's no need for haste. I remained silent. Yet I refrained from unlocking the door as well. He approached the piano and lifted the lid with a deliberate grace. Play something, he urged. Anything. There was a moment of uncertainty. Subsequently, they made their way to the bench. My fingers unearthed a melody, one that had lain dormant since my 19-year-old self last caressed the keys. A gentle waltz, serene and filled with romance. He lingered in my shadow, near. His breath lingered warm against my shoulder. He refrained from making contact with me. Not at this moment. Yet the distance that separated us throbbed with an undeniable energy. I continued to play, until his hand rested softly against my back. Subdued. At the very brink of consent, I ceased my playing, not due to an error on my part. Yet my thoughts eluded me with his hand resting there. I shifted my gaze. He inched nearer. If you wish for me to cease, he murmured, speak the word. I did not. I was unable to, for my body had already given its consent. His lips brushed against my shoulder first, gentle, leisurely, next my neck, then just behind my ear. A chill ran through me. I was uncertain whether the tremors coursing through me were a result of the touch itself, or the realization that it had been more than 10 years since I had experienced anything like it. Not since the days when life was still filled with spontaneity, prior to my descent into invisibility. He stepped before me and sank to his knees. Gaze upon me, he declared. I did indeed. For the first time I found myself not seeing a boy. A man came into view, a witness to my presence. Not in the capacity of a mother, not in the role of a widow, yet as a female. My fingers brushed against his face, his cheek, his lips, and when he kissed me it lacked fervor. It was filled with deep respect. It was as if he understood that this moment had been meticulously crafted, note by note, glance by glance, silence by silence. He made no request for anything further. I withheld it. Not at this moment. Yet the door remained firmly shut. Within the confines of that studio, I allowed myself to embrace desire. Truly desire. After a long hiatus, the light outside had faded. We lingered on the piano bench, enveloped in silence, scarcely shifting our positions. His hand lingered over mine, not maintaining, merely taking a moment to unwind, as if it were meant to be, as if it had existed in a previous existence. My heart pulsed in languid, profound rhythms. A sensation coursed through me, resonating in my chest, tingling in my palms and tightening in the back of my throat. I cast my gaze upon Luca. He met the gaze head-on. In that stillness shared, a sacred bond emerged. He claimed the top position. He extended his hand as if we were on the verge of waltzing once more. Approach me, he commanded. Yet I found myself already on my feet. Our bodies converged as if they had long awaited the signal to unite. His arms encircled my waist, while mine rested against his chest. Silence enveloped the space, devoid of any melody. Yet we advanced as if there were something at play, synchronizing with each breath. Contact responds to contact. I had lost touch with the sensation of being wanted without the expectation of action, to be embraced without restraint. to be gazed upon with a yearning indeed, but equally with reverence. As his lips met mine once more, my mind fell silent, failed to conduct an analysis, failed to prepare. I unlatched the door. Oral physical recollection. I allowed him to kiss the areas I believed were forever sealed off. Just behind my ear, my collarbone, my wrists. He caressed me as if I were composed of melody, as if he were toying with my emotions, not for the purpose of conquest, yet to comprehend, to experience emotion. We settled into the worn velvet couch nestled in the corner. He took his seat first, extended his arms wide. I made my way toward him, knees quaking. Yet it is not born of fear. From the moment of release, years enveloped in silence, years devoted to motherhood, years spent treading lightly, spilled forth as I surrendered to the embrace of someone who sought not to mend my broken pieces. Simply sense my presence. Simply embrace me. Simply understand me. The duration of our stillness escapes my memory. Moments. Time stretches on. In that room, time ceased to hold any meaning. The outside world would have to bide its time. I felt no guilt whatsoever. Not at that moment. In that moment, everything felt right. A solitary woman, weary from the weight of her own solitude, and a man who listened to her not through words, yet in each note she had endeavored to remain silent. As I stepped out of that room, my hair tousled, lips soft, and my body alive with a gentle buzz, I felt no shame. A sense of completeness enveloped me.